The phone rang late one evening. I did not recognize the number, but, something told me to answer it. On the other end was Mason. He was a friend from my past, and honestly, we did not talk much anymore. His voice sounded strained. He sounded desperate. He asked me for a huge favor. He needed a place for our old friend, Neil, to stay for the night. Mason explained that Neil was in town unexpectedly, and he said Neil had nowhere else to go. I hesitated. I really did not want company that night. I had a long week at work, and just wanted to relax by myself. I told Mason I was not sure it was a good idea. My apartment is small, and I was not prepared for a guest. But Mason kept pushing. He said it would only be for one night. He promised it would be no trouble at all. He even offered me a favor in return. He said he would help me with a project I had been struggling with. The offer was honestly pretty tempting. It showed me how desperate he was. I thought about Neil. We were good friends when we were kids. I had not seen him in years. I remembered him as a funny and outgoing person. It felt wrong to say no. So, I finally agreed. I told Mason that Neil could stay. I gave him my address and told him to have Neil come over. As soon as I hung up the phone, a small feeling of regret washed over me. Why did I say yes? I did not know Neil anymore. People change over time. I'd heard some strange rumors about him recently. People said he had been acting differently. They said he was getting into trouble. I tried to push those thoughts away. I told myself it was just for one night. What could possibly go wrong in just one night? I tried to get my apartment ready. I cleaned up the living room a little bit. I found some clean sheets and a pillow for the couch. I felt a strange mix of emotions. I was a little nervous, but also a little curious. I wondered what Neil was like now. Would we be able to talk like we used to, or would it be awkward and quiet? I hoped for the best. I hoped he was still the same person I remembered. I decided to trust Mason. I decided to believe that helping a friend was the right thing to do. I did not know that this decision would lead to one of the scariest nights of my life. About an hour later, I heard a knock on my door. I took a deep breath and opened it. There stood Neil. He looked different than I remembered. He was thinner, and his eyes seemed tired, but he still had the same wide smile. He greeted me warmly, like no time had passed at all. He gave me a quick hug and stepped inside, carrying a small backpack. He thanked me over and over for letting him stay. He said I was a lifesaver. His friendly energy made me feel a little better. Maybe this would not be so bad after all. We sat down on the couch and started to talk. At first it was nice. We talked about our childhood. We laughed about old memories. He asked me about my job and my life, and he seemed genuinely interested. He was still the same outgoing person I knew. He could make anyone feel comfortable. For a moment, I forgot all my worries. I forgot the rumors I had heard. I was just happy to be catching up with an old friend. I offered him something to drink, and he asked for a glass of water. It all felt so normal. But then, things started to get strange. As we were talking, Neil would suddenly go quiet. He would stare off into space with a blank look on his face. He seemed to be listening to something that was not there. I would ask him if he was okay, and he would snap out of it. He would laugh and say he was just tired from his trip. But it happened again and again. Each time, it made me feel a little more uncomfortable. His friendly personality seemed to be a mask. Underneath it, something felt wrong. Something felt off. The strangest thing happened about an hour after he arrived. He stood up suddenly and walked to my front door. He checked the lock, then he checked it again. He did the same thing with the windows in my living room. He walked around the room, touching the walls and looking into corners. He did not say a word. I asked him what he was doing. He just smiled and said he was making sure everything was secure. He said it was just a habit, but it was not a normal habit. It was a scary habit. My feeling of ease was completely gone. It was replaced by a growing sense of fear. As the night went on, Neil's behavior became even more bizarre. The quiet moments became longer. He would sit in complete silence, his eyes darting around the room as if he were watching things I could not see. He seemed paranoid. He would flinch at small sounds from outside, like a car passing by or a dog barking in the distance. I tried to keep a conversation going, hoping it would distract him. I asked him about his family and what he had been doing for work. His answers were short and did not make much sense. He was not the person I remembered at all. I suggested we watch a movie. I thought it might help him relax. I put on a light comedy, something that was easy to watch, but Neil could not focus on it. He kept getting up and pacing around the small living room. He would look out the window, pulling the curtain back just a little bit to peek outside. He seemed convinced that someone was out there, watching the apartment. I asked him who he thought was out there. He just shook his head and told me not to worry about it. But his actions made me worry a lot. I started to feel like a prisoner in my own home. I was afraid to say the wrong thing. I was afraid to make any sudden moves. I tried to act calm. I did not want to make him more agitated than he already was. I sat on the edge of the couch, pretending to watch the movie, but my heart was pounding in my chest. I kept glancing at my phone, thinking about who I could call. I felt so alone, and so scared. This was not just strange behavior anymore. This was something much more serious. I knew I was not safe. The air in the room felt heavy and tense. Every time he moved, I tensed up. Every time he spoke, his voice sounded strange and distant. I remembered the rumors I had heard about him. People said he had been talking to himself and acting paranoid. I had not believed them. I had thought people were exaggerating, but now, sitting in my living room with him, I knew the rumors were true. I deeply regretted letting him into my home. I had trusted Mason, and I had trusted my memories of a childhood friend. Now, I was facing the consequences of that trust. The moment that turned my fear into pure terror happened in the kitchen. Neil said he was hungry. He asked if he could make a sandwich. I was relieved, thinking it was a normal request. I told him to help himself. I stayed in the living room, trying to give him some space. I hoped that maybe some food would help him calm down. I could hear him opening the refrigerator and moving things around. For a few minutes, everything seemed normal again. I let out a breath I did not realize I had been holding. I was wrong to be so hopeful. Then, I heard the sound of the silverware drawer opening. It was a loud, metallic sound in the quiet apartment. It made me jump. I slowly got up from the couch and peeked into the kitchen. What I saw made my blood run cold. Neil was standing by the counter. He was not making a sandwich. He was holding one of my large kitchen knives. He was not cutting anything. He was just holding it, staring at the blade. His expression was blank. He seemed completely lost in his own world. He slowly turned the knife over and over in his hand. I froze. I could not move. I could not breathe. My mind was racing. Why was he holding a knife? What was he going to do with it? All the worst-case scenarios flooded my brain. I thought he was going to hurt me. I was trapped in the apartment with him. He was between me and the front door. I had nowhere to go. My body was screaming at me to run, but my legs would not move. I just stood there, hidden in the doorway, watching him. It felt like an eternity, but it was probably only a few seconds. Slowly, very slowly, I backed away from the kitchen doorway. I did not want him to see me. I did not want him to know that I had seen him with the knife. I crept back to the couch and sat down. My hands were shaking so much that I could barely hold my phone. I tried to think clearly, but my mind was a mess of fear. I had to do something. I could not just sit there and wait to see what he would do next. I had to get help. I had to get myself out of this situation. My life felt like it was in real danger. My first instinct was to call the police, but I stopped myself. I was scared of what Neil might do if he heard me on the phone. He was already so paranoid. A call to the police could make the situation much worse. It could provoke him. I needed to be smart. I needed to find a way to get help without him noticing. My hands were trembling as I unlocked my phone. I decided to text my brother, Alex. He lived only 10 minutes away. I prayed that he was awake and would see my message right away. I typed as quickly and quietly as I could. I need help. Come to my apartment now. Don't call. Just come. My fingers fumbled on the screen. I added another message. A friend is here and he is acting very strange. I'm scared. Please hurry. I sent the texts and held my breath. Every second that passed felt like an hour. I stared at my phone, waiting for a reply. At that moment, Neil walked back into the living room. He did not have the knife anymore. I did not know where he had put it. He sat back down on the couch and started talking about the movie again, as if nothing had happened. I tried to act normal. I nodded and smiled, pretending to listen to him. But all I could think about was the knife. Where was it? Was it in his pocket? Did he put it back in the drawer? My mind was racing with terrifying possibilities. Then, my phone vibrated in my hand. It was a text from Alex. On my way. Are you okay? Relief washed over me, but I was still terrified. I quickly typed back, "Yes, but please be careful when you get here, just knock." I also sent a quick group text to two of my closest friends, explaining the situation and asking them to come too. I knew I needed backup. While I waited, I knew I had to do something about the knives. I needed to get them out of the kitchen. I waited for a moment when Neil was distracted by the movie. I stood up and said, "I'm just going to get some water." My voice was shaking, but he did not seem to notice. I walked into the kitchen, my heart pounding. I quickly and quietly opened the silverware drawer. I took out all the sharp knives. I wrapped them in a dish towel, my hands trembling. I did not know where to hide them. I opened the oven, put the bundle of knives inside, and shut it. It was the only place I could think of. A few minutes later, there was a knock on the door. It was a calm, steady knock. I knew it was my brother, Alex. Neil jumped up, his eyes wide with fear. "Who is that?" he asked, his voice full of panic. "It's probably just my brother," I said, trying to sound casual. "He sometimes stops by late." I walked to the door and opened it. Alex was standing there, his face full of concern. Two of my other friends, Mark and Sarah, were right behind him. I had never been so happy to see them in my entire life. I stepped outside into the hallway with them and quickly closed the door behind me. I did not want Neil to hear what we were saying. I told them everything in a hushed, frantic voice. I told them about how he was checking the locks, his paranoia, and how I saw him holding the knife in the kitchen. As I spoke, I could feel the fear and adrenaline start to wear off, replaced by shaky relief. They listened carefully, their expressions growing more serious with every word I said. Alex put a comforting hand on my shoulder. He told me I did the right thing by calling them. We decided that Alex and Mark should talk to Neil. We thought it would be better if they spoke to him outside, away from the apartment. Alex knocked on the door again. When Neil opened it, Alex calmly said, "Hey Neil, it's Alex. Can you come out here and talk with us for a minute?" Neil looked confused and scared. He looked past Alex and saw me standing with my friends. He slowly stepped into the hallway. Sarah stayed by my side, which made me feel much safer. I was still shaking from the whole ordeal. Alex and Mark spoke to Neil in calm, gentle voices. They asked him if he was okay. At first, Neil was defensive. He said everything was fine. But then, he started talking, and his words did not make any sense. He told them that people were following him. He said he had secret information, and that they were trying to get it from him. He claimed he had to check the locks to keep us all safe from the people who were after him. He even said he grabbed the knife for protection, in case they tried to break in. It was clear that he was not thinking clearly. He was in the middle of a serious paranoid episode. After listening to Neil's bizarre claims, my brother Alex knew that Neil could not stay with me. It was not safe for me, and it was not safe for him. Neil needed help that none of us could provide. Alex calmly told Neil that he was going to take him home. He explained that Neil seemed very tired and stressed, and that it would be best for him to be in his own place. My friends and I agreed. We just wanted the situation to be over. We wanted Neil to be somewhere safe where he could not hurt himself or anyone else. Surprisingly, Neil agreed to go. I think a part of him knew that something was wrong. He seemed exhausted from his own paranoia. He gathered his small backpack from my living room. He did not look at me as he left. Alex and Mark walked with him to Alex's car. They drove him the 2 hours back to his parents' house in the middle of the night. Sarah stayed with me until they were gone. We sat in silence for a while. The apartment felt strangely empty and quiet. The tension was gone, but the fear still lingered in the air. I was so grateful for my friends and my brother. The next morning I got a call from Mason. He sounded incredibly guilty. He apologized over and over again. He told me the truth about why he had asked me to let Neil stay. He explained that Neil had been struggling with severe mental health issues for the past few months. These issues were made much worse by drug use. Mason said that Neil's family was trying to get him help, but he had run away. Mason was worried and did not know what else to do. He thought one night at my place would be harmless. He never imagined it would turn into such a terrifying experience for me. I was angry at Mason for not telling me the truth. He had put me in a very dangerous situation, but I was also filled with a deep sadness for Neil. The funny, kind friend I remembered from my childhood was lost. He was trapped in a world of fear and paranoia. The experience taught me a powerful lesson. It taught me to always trust my instincts. My gut feeling told me something was wrong from the very beginning, and I should have listened more carefully. I learned that it is okay to say no, even if it feels difficult. Protecting my own safety is more important than being polite. I avoided a potentially tragic outcome that night because I reached out for help. I will never forget the night I let Neil in, and I will never ignore my instincts again.